Hello friends, welcome. If you are at all familiar with my channel, you have probably come to learn that I am a big fan of vintage and I talk about it kind of a lot. So I thought it might be fun to gather together a bunch of cool and interesting vintage pieces that I'm really into to share with you, because as much as I would love to own all of these items myself, I have neither the space nor the budget. Now I've sourced everything online, so eBay, Etsy, Cherish, First Dibs, and it's all available, or at least it is at time of filming. And I'm going to have links for all of these items on a Pinterest board. So I'm going to link my Pinterest in the description. I'm also going to offer some suggestions of how I would potentially go about styling some of these pieces. So even if you're not looking to buy anything, you're gonna come away with some ideas and inspiration. I have grouped everything into 5 categories. So we've got lighting, art, furniture, decor, and kitchen and bar. So whatever you might be in the market for, I've got you covered. So let's get started. So we have this vintage Italian metal table lamp, which I'm kind of obsessed with. Brown has really been a popular color lately, and I love this shade of brown. Chrome has also been seeing a resurgence lately, and I really like the chrome on this lamp. I like the flexibility of this. You can pivot it down or up. I think having it pivot down and use it as a desk lamp would obviously make a lot of sense. But another way that I would like to see it used is maybe to have it on like a long, low, modern credenza. You could have a bunch of pieces of art all leaning against it, and then you could use this lamp to highlight the art. I think that would be really cool. Okay, next up we have this large industrial pendant light, and you're probably familiar with these. There are a lot of them around. They still make pendants that look like this, but I really like the vintage ones. They're usually pretty easy to find. They're usually pretty affordable. And if you are in a more contemporary space and everything is feeling very new, having these vintage lights that have some age and some patina to them, I think is just gonna help to add character to your space. So I like the idea of these over a dining table. You could have 2 of them over a long table, but of course they would definitely also work in a kitchen where you wanted a little pop of color. Okay, so next up we have this wall lamp, which is actually a vintage IKEA piece, and I really enjoy this. I like the shape and style. I love the color. I would probably use this where I had like an eclectic gallery wall mixed in amongst a variety of colorful art. I think that would be really fun. Okay, so these wall sconces. Now, given my other selections for vintage lighting, you might be surprised that I have picked these. And it's true that I am not normally really that drawn to lighting that is crystal and sparkly, but hear me out. I think that these would look really cool if they were used in combination with some really modern furniture. So I would put these maybe like in a front entry over a really clean and simple console table with some really bold and colorful art. And I think the juxtaposition of the contemporary with the very classic crystal fixtures would be really cool. Okay, moving on to art now, and I want to talk for a minute about vintage posters because they are a great way of bringing vintage art into your home. There's a ton of them online. The price point really can vary. There's lots of styles. There's something for everyone, and I've picked out a few of my favorites to share with you here. This next piece is cruel art. I really like this specific piece. I really like the colors, but I also wanted to show this because I think when it comes to art, we often are just thinking about paintings or photography. We maybe don't consider other options like textile art. And there are some really interesting and unique pieces out there. I think this is a really good place to look. So this piece is a vintage paint by numbers, and I really like vintage paint by numbers. There's something about them that I just find really charming and a bit kind of quirky. They make a really great addition to a gallery wall, and they're usually pretty easy to come by, and they're usually very affordable. So keep an eye out for these. Okay, this is a vintage advertising letter, and I love pieces like this. You can find them in all kinds of styles and sizes. Sometimes there's even neon ones. The price point can really vary, so you're gonna wanna shop around, but I just think they're really cool and unique pieces. And just old vintage advertising signs in general, I think can make really great pieces of art. There's lots of them out there. The size and shape, the style really varies. The price point can really vary, but I think they're a great piece to shop for. Okay, it's time to look at some vintage furniture. These red dining chairs I absolutely love. I love a colorful chair. These would be such a statement piece. I would keep the dining table really clean and simple so these chairs would really shine. And then I would go bold with an overscale light fixture and a colorful gallery wall. Okay, so these accent tables, I picked these because I think these are, again, an easy find. I think we are all familiar with tables like this. I think we can find them at pretty reasonable price points. And you wouldn't necessarily always be drawn to a table like this. I think sometimes maybe we would be afraid that they could feel a bit dated, but I think they're actually quite cool. And I think in the right space, they can really work. So if you've got a living room that's got some really rich, dramatic color and texture, I think that these would be an excellent addition. So this shelving unit is another vintage IKEA piece, and I love this piece. It is super timeless. I think it would work in a variety of spaces. It would be great in a home office. It would be great in a living room. The designer behind this piece is named Niels Gammelard, and he actually designed a lot of iconic pieces for IKEA, and some of them have actually recently been reintroduced. So if you've noticed this chair at IKEA lately, this is one of his designs. And I love the colors that they've brought out in the reproductions, but there are some cool vintage options out on the market still as well. So here we have this burlwood coffee table, and burlwood tables in general, very covetable. I think they're timeless and beautiful. They add a certain richness and warmth to a space. And I think that this one in particular is really interesting because of that metal base. This isn't something that you see very often, and I think it would be a real statement piece in a living room. So I went searching for nightstands because I don't know about you, but I find nightstands are always a really challenging purchase. It's hard to find good ones. They can be really expensive. I love these teak ones. I think these are timeless. I think that these would work in a variety of spaces. Now, teak is really popular right now, so you're not always going to get a great deal on pieces like this, but sometimes, you know, if you're on your local Facebook marketplace, you might get lucky. But I think that they're just a really great investment. I think that nightstands like this just work so well in a variety of spaces. They work in a light and bright bedroom. They would work in one that's dark and dramatic. So I think if you had nightstands like this, you would just have them for years and years to come. Okay. Let's look at some decor pieces. These black walnut bookends I really like. I like how clean and simple they are. I like the shape. And actually, if you didn't need to use them as bookends, I think that you could actually just place the two of them together and then kind of offset them from one another, and they could just function as sort of a little decorative sculptural piece. I don't think you even necessarily have to use them as bookends. So because of the flexibility, because they're affordable, these I think are a good buy. So I came across this Art Deco ashtray and was just really into this. I love the design, and I know that most of us aren't really using ashtrays much anymore, but you can definitely still incorporate them as just a decorative element. I think this would look really nice on a coffee table. You could throw some vintage matchbooks in it. I think it's just a really great styling piece. So these vintage books, now, of course, you don't actually have to order these 3 specific books. Although, one of the challenges of layering books like this is finding them the right size and shape that they'll work together, and this would take the guesswork out of it. But my point is that vintage books, they are readily available, they're affordable, and they are a great styling piece. You could stack these on a coffee table. In fact, they'd look great on, say, a vintage burlwood coffee table, perhaps with an Art Deco ashtray layered on top. Just saying. So when it comes to vintage mirrors, I mean, there are so many of them out there in every size, shape, style, and price point imaginable. I came across this one. This is from the 1970s, although the design is very classic. And this was made by Decor Furniture, which I'm sure you're familiar with. They're a well-known furniture brand, and they're known for really good quality furniture. So I think purchasing one of these pieces, you could feel confident that it was going to hold up really well. And again, this is one of those pieces, being sort of a more traditional style, I would want to contrast this with more contemporary pieces. So for example, hanging this over like a colorful console table, I think would be a really nice way to go. So here we have this candle holder. This is a brutalist piece. Now, brutalism is a design style that can be a bit polarizing. Some people love it, some people do not. I really like brutalism. I think that it's a style that can be really interesting when it's mixed with other design styles. And this particular candlestick, I think, is a really great piece. You could use this on a dining table, a coffee table, a mantle, a bookcase. Super versatile and just a really great investment. So moving on to kitchen and bar. The first thing that I came across was this set of mugs on Etsy, and these feel very appropriate for the fall season that we are just entering into. The colors feel very fall-like. Mugs in general just feel very appropriate for when the weather starts to get cooler and our drinks start to get warmer. These are very cute. So many years ago, I worked at a furniture store, and we had a client who was this lovely older gentleman. He used to come in the store quite often and chat with us, and he would tell us about his collection of Russell Wright ceramics. So Russell Wright was a modernist industrial designer, best known for his collection of ceramic dinnerware called American Modern. The entire collection is lovely. The color options, really beautiful, but I happen to think that this picture is one of the best pieces. Now, Russell Wright ceramics are still readily available on the secondhand market, and the price points are usually pretty reasonable, so keep an eye out. If you are in the market for a teapot, I think that this one is beautiful. This would work in a variety of kitchens. It's so gorgeous, you would want to just leave it on your stovetop at all times. Highly, highly recommend. So I was on Cherish looking for vintage ice buckets, and I was pleasantly surprised at the selection that they had. A wide variety at really good prices. I thought this one was very cool, and I thought it would look really nice in a wet bar like this one. So my last item in this category is this tortoise lucite tray, which I just think is so beautiful. Definitely an investment. This is not inexpensive, but I think it's gorgeous. You could use it in a wet bar, or you could use it in a kitchen. You could lean it against an open shelf. You could set it on a countertop. Just a stunning, stunning piece. Well, guys, that's it. Those are all the vintage pieces I have for you today. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought of this video. Would you like to see more videos like this one in the future? Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. I hope you will join me again for the next one, and bye for now.